Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where I shake my brain nipples so that you can get a free education. I will figure out capitalism one of these days. Anyways, I sit here, I scream about stupid crap because YouTube actually pays me to do that. And then I have what's called SiliconDojo.com. We do free in-person technology education. We're going to have a class October 8th in Durham, North Carolina at a place called American Underground. We're going to be developing an AI project. So we're going to be using Olama as a local LLM. We're going to be using SQLite. We're going to be using Bottle. We're going to be using REST APIs. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff to show you how to actually build a real AI system. I mean, let's be clear, it's a simple AI system to give you an idea of all the components there. So anyways, if you're interested in that, go to SiliconDojo.com. And with that, as I've said, as I've said in the past, if there is one thing we need more of in this world, we need more AI. We definitely do not have enough AI in 2025. And so thank God, South Korea is coming to the rescue to give us more AI. So I've been talking about this for a while, my frustration with this whole AI thing. Look, AI, LLMs, all these models, whatever, they have their functionality. And they're incredibly useful. There is a lot of value there. The problem is they're just dumping way too damn much money into this. Everybody is trying to corner this market, and it's getting to be ridiculous, right? OpenAI, it is still a privately held startup company, now supposedly worth $500 billion, right? We have Anthropic worth $183 billion. We have xAI theoretically worth $200 billion, right? We have Sam Altman talking about he alone wants to spend $4 trillion in CapEx, just essentially in hardware and data centers to build up AI infrastructure. At the same time that's going on, we have the race between the United States and China. And so China, they're building all of their stuff, and Huawei's putting a lot of cool stuff out there. And then we got Europe over here, and Europe's like, oh, wait a minute. You know, we're kind of getting tired of both the United States and China, so we want to have our own AI ecosystem. And in the Middle East, I think it's Qatar, Abu Dhabi, I don't know, one of those places down there, they just came up with their own foundation? Frontier. They just came up with their own frontier model. And the interesting thing that we're getting to with this whole AI thing, it's just, what the fuck? As I've said before, water is incredibly valuable, right? Water is vital to life. But if somebody put a $1 million price tag on a bottle of water, you'd still call that horse crap. What? Don't you need water to live? Well, yeah, but man, you can't sell a bottle of water for $1 million. But that's what we're getting to in the AI world. I feel like AI is like the metaphor for water, right? Is this going to be a valuable thing going into the future for technology? Yes! You still can't throw $1 million on a bottle of it, though. Anyways, so we now have this with South Korea, right? So not to be left out, how South Korea plans to best OpenAI, Google, others with homegrown AI. And so again, with all of this stuff, they have to be the best, right? Apple has to be a leader in AI. Meta has to be a leader in AI. Anthropic, obviously, OpenAI, right? The United States has to win the AI war. Everybody has to be the best, and it's just, So anyways, I don't know. This is just a continuation of the story. If you're wondering why I'm getting frustrated, that's the thing, is everybody's like, Eli, why do you get so frustrated at certain things? Here's the deal. I'm just gonna beat the reasons into your heads. You're just going to see so many videos where it's just back to back to back to back to explain why this stuff frustrates me. Anyways, from tech giants to startups, South Korean players are developing large language models tailored to their own language and culture, ready to compete with global heavyweights like OpenAI and Google. I do actually think this is interesting on a global stage, though. The idea of training models specifically for certain areas, right? I've talked about that before with IBM, right? So I did a fireside chat with the global VP for AI models, or the VP for AI models for IBM. And one of the things he talked about with the Granite model is that it was only trained on corporate communication. The idea being is that if you train your model on Reddit, it's going to talk like somebody who uses Reddit, right? So if you want to use a model for corporate communications, using the Granite model makes more sense because it's only been trained for corporate communications. So it becomes interesting. Again, we start thinking about in a global world, however many countries we have, however many languages we have, the idea of specifically training models on languages and cultures to more closely emulate those languages and those cultures, I do actually think makes a lot of sense. Last month, the nation launched its most ambitious sovereign AI initiative to date, pledging 530 billion of their squiggles. I'm not sure what squiggles they use. About $390 million to 5 local companies building large-scale foundational models. It is curious, too, when you start looking at the money. Right, in the United States, we're spending $500 billion on Stargate. In South Korea, they're spending $390 million. Who's the smart one and who's the dumb one there? Are they dumb because they're not investing enough money in LLMs? Or are we dumb for investing way too much money in this crap? The move underscores Seoul's desire to cut reliance on foreign AI technologies, hoping to strengthen national security and keep a tighter control over data in the AI era. I do think this is interesting too, again, for these companies. When we think about Microsoft, when you think about Apple, when you think about OpenAI, right? Part of their valuation is the idea that they will be globally competitive, right? When we sell our whatever to the world. The curious thing that comes up, what if the rest of the world doesn't want to buy it? Right? What if just like we're trying to ban TikTok or whatever we're doing with TikTok, right? Think about this. Like TikTok is TikTok. TikTok is a social media platform. Like I don't know, maybe there's some vulnerabilities there. Anyways, vulnerabilities are relatively small. Think about this with AI. AI is decision-making systems, communication systems. Like think about what AI is used for. Do you want to use another nation state's AI? Are you comfortable with another society and culture's training of an AI model to determine how your system should operate? I do think that becomes an interesting question, like because so many of these AI systems are black boxes. Why they do what they do is a whole bunch of statistical horse crap that humans just don't understand. It's not something that's explained. There's something called explainable AI. Most of these systems are not explainable AI. They're black box systems. They just do what they do. So it becomes very interesting, especially when you start thinking about at scale. Why do things do what they do at scale? And even if you have like 1% failure or 1% weirdness, right? At scale, right? If you've got a company or a country of 50 million people and your national AI is acting weird with 1% of them, that's a 500,000 people that are getting weird results. Do you feel comfortable with OpenAI giving your citizens weird results? Or if somebody's going to give them weird results, by God, it's going to be your LLM model. I think these are some really interesting questions. That whole thing, like with the whole trolley problem, right? The whole with AI, right? If there's one school kid here and there's 10 grannies here and there's a trolley, who should the trolley murder? What becomes even more interesting is whose AI, which nation state's AI should be allowed to make that decision? Do you feel comfortable with a Chinese AI determining whether a kid or 10 grannies should die? By God, if we're gonna murder 10 grannies here in the United States, we will use OpenAI to murder those grannies. Right? But again, it's an interesting, like with this technology. Again, I talk about those with politics and all this kind of stuff going on. People are like, why? Why does this matter? Because think about this. Think about when a Chinese, and I'm not anti-Chinese with this, it's just gonna fucking happen, right? Uber's already murdered, an American citizen. Cruise has already hit, American citizens. Waymo's already gotten into accidents, right? Accidents will fucking happen. But think about this. What happens when a Chinese AI kills an American citizen? What happens when an American AI kills a Chinese citizen? This gets way stupider than the trolley problem really quick. And so I do think it becomes an interesting concept here of countries deciding that they have to have their own AI solutions. By God, if a Korean is going to get killed by a robot, it's going to get killed by a Korean robot. Let's see here. The organizations picked by the Ministry of Science and ICT to compete were LG AI Research, SK Telecom, Naver Cloud, NC AI, and the startup Upstage. Every 6 months, the government will review the first cohort's progress, cut underperformers, and continue funding the frontrunners until just two remain to lead the country's sovereign AI drive. Each player is bringing a different advantage to South Korea's AI race. So yeah. This is just kind of curious to be thinking about what the rest of the world is doing with AI, and then looking at what the rest of the world is doing with AI, and really asking the question: is the American strategy working? Do we actually have a good plan? Again, as I've said many times before, it's all risk. It is all risk. You never know what's going to happen. But when you look at our strategy, when you look at our plan, and when you look at reality, does it look like we're actually on the path for success? That's my question. So what do you think about this? What do you think about South Korea wanting their own sovereign AI? What do you think about other countries demanding their own sovereign AI? What happens when a Chinese AI kills an American AI kills a Chinaman? Is it better if a Korean dies that, by God, a Korean AI did it, right? Do you want out of this timeline yet? Do you want out of this timeline? Anyways, put your thoughts down below. Give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing, call me a moron. Just be a big dog and do it down there in the comment section. Do you remember silicondojo.com? Again, we are having our first in-person class in quite a while in Durham, North Carolina, coming up on October 8th. It is in person, you dummies. In person. It is not on Zoom. It is in person. Don't sign up unless you come. Why does Eli get so pissed off at his viewers? Because people in fucking Nigeria are signing up, you dumb shits. Unless you are actually getting a flight to Raleigh from Nigeria, don't sign up. Anyways, but if you can show up in person, just go to silicondojo.com. You can become a member. It's all for free because I am here shaking my brain nipples so you can get an education. With that, see y'all later.